What's up guys, Stefi Cohen here. I am really excited because today I'll be meeting up with one of the world's greatest legends in powerlifting, Ed Coan. I'm really excited to be meeting up with him. We are here in Chicago, Illinois at this gym called Lance's Gym. It's a hidden gym, a true powerlifting gym that is really difficult to find, so I'm not going to give you the details of exactly where it's located, but you can see based on where we're at that it's kind of like hidden in a maze. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get some questions answered and a little interview with Ed. So follow me. So Ed, how did you first get into powerlifting?
Well, I've always been athletic, and at first I tried bodybuilding because I saw Arnold on TV, and then I met Arnold and I was like, oh shit, Arnold's 6'2". So I tried to be like Franco Colombo. He was strong, short, and I met Franco in person, but he was pretty cool. But I tried to go on a bodybuilding contest in 1980. And this is before they even posted music, where he just got out there. So I took Franco's little book that he had on bodybuilding, and I did every pose that he had in the back in that order.
How old are you then?
15.
Okay.
I don't think I was 16 yet.
Did you have a sports background?
Just the usual baseball, football, basketball since I was a kid. And then, and a little bit of wrestling. And then I saw Kaz lift on TV. He was on Wild World of Sports. They still had powerlifting on there. I was like, well, wait a second, you could be that big, that strong, not have to diet or pose in those little trunks on stage. I think I found my sport, and that's when I started. And I fell in love with it right away.
Did you have a coach that kind of like introduced you to it? Or
Not really. That's Powerlifting USA magazine.
Okay.
I just read my ass off. I mean, when I first started, I maxed out the squat twice a week until I hit 500 pounds. So I had this big, strong back and these tiny little legs. And then I just fell in love with it.
So your training philosophy going forward, was it all like self-taught? How did you teach yourself how to train? Did you have any mentors?
The magazines, and then I had Doug Furness was a great friend of mine, and a little bit of Fred Hatfield. Doug was the importance of programming and keeping it simple, and Fred was, big thing was the explosive power. And that kind of fit into how I was made, what I'm built to do. So I just kept it going, and I kept it simple, but I never really had a big ego, so I was I was 4'11", 98 pounds my first year in high school. So I always had a little bit of a complex, and I was pretty introverted, so I never worried about what other people thought. So I just kept my numbers simple, and kept them going, and going, and going, and going, and programmed it as I went along. But what I did is, all my assistance work, like my heavy compound exercises, I would cycle them just like a regular power lift. So I had little contests with myself the whole training cycle. So all those big exercises got really strong on the way up, and the little exercises were just like dotting your I and crossing your T when you write paper. So everything kind of helped each other along the way, so I never had a weak link, so to say, with muscle. And I made myself like this suit of armor that wherever you hit a chunk of metal. That was my philosophy, and as long as you keep your numbers going correctly and you don't use your ego, like I did 500 this meet, there's no way, I'm gonna easily get 580 next meet. No, you're going for 525. But if you do like 4 or 5 training cycles a year, and you got a little bit better on each one with every single big exercise you do, as a whole, in the long run, you're not gonna have any weak points, and you have less injuries.
Yeah, that's right. So you would change up your routine based on what holes you would find as you go.
Yeah.
Like it would always be forever changing.
Yeah, well, because of my genetics, the way I'm built, short legs, long torso, wide with long arms, my bench would be a problem. So my whole off season was with my feet up in the air, a lot more close grips. My squat would be, because my back and hip strength was so good, my squat would be a high bar, close stance Olympic lifting squat for almost the whole off season. And deadlifts would be usually deficits with no belt, conventional, or deficit stiff legs, like a whole training cycle of it. And not even worry, because I knew I was strong in the other, in the regular lift, so I knew it would just help it along.
Right, so a lot of training the opposite stance or the opposite, the weak link in the off season, and then pushing what you're good at in the on season.
Yeah, it would. I would do the exercises that help my weak point, but I knew that were close enough to the regular lift that would transfer over easier. Like I tried front squats. For me, I couldn't use enough weight on front squats. So high bar, closer stance Olympic, I could use a little bit more weight. It transferred over more. Hamstrings were a problem, so it was deficit stiff legs. I do 10 weeks of deficit stiff legs, and that would be the only deadlift I did. But it worked out.
Interesting. So let's say when you hit a plateau, and how do you keep yourself motivated to keep going when you hit those like rough points in training, those low points in training?
Well, you have to be honest with yourself, which is the hardest thing in the world. And as long as you can videotape, especially now, you can kind of figure out whether it's technique related or strength related. And if it's strength related, usually it's based on, am I either neglecting some or is it your genetics that you're not, like I said with the off season, my quads were my weak link, this was my weak link, so I would switch over to exercises that would benefit me. You got to do the exercises that would benefit you and put in the work, or else it'll never change. I think what kept me going is I took my time. So every cycle built onto the next cycle and built onto the next cycle. It wasn't like I was trying to make this astronomical jump from one cycle to the next. It was like cumulative over time. And if you lasted long enough, you're pretty damn good. But then you got less injuries.
Did you ever have training seasons where you didn't make any progress?
No.
No, you consistently, at least like some sort of like.
Usually what happened is because I started young enough and at a light enough body weight. My first contest I weighed barely 150 pounds. Is I started growing, so it was always another weight class. So when I got too lean for a weight class, then it became detrimental for me to drop weight and hit the heavy weight without getting injured. I just moved up.
How many weight classes do you compete in?
Let's see, 165, 181, 198, 220, 242, and I did one where I weighed like 247 because it was just like heavy weights and light weights for money.
Damn, that's crazy.
So I had a bunch of them.
And how many years did you compete?
28 straight.
That is insane.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. I only quit because that's when my first hip started going. Like I said, my mom had osteo and rheumatoid arthritis almost her whole adult life, and she kind of passed some of that on to me, so I just went as long as I could before I knew it wouldn't be. I had to. You have to live up to your own ego too, because we all like to be able to lift with the weight we want to lift, and even more. I couldn't lift up, live up to my numbers anymore, so then I had to back off, and it's okay.
But other than that, no other major injuries.
No, I mean I've had some little muscle tears and stuff, but no other real surgeries. I did blow out my patellar tendon before.
Okay.
That's a nice YouTube video.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah.
Ed Coan
injury.
Yeah. Okay.
And I knew it too. It was my own fault. I walked out the squat and I put my right leg out too far. So as soon as I started going down, I felt it coming in, and it was like standing in front of a train knowing you're going to get hit, and then it just snapped.
This is sleeves?
No, that was with knee wraps. Yeah.
You competed both raw classic and raw.
Yeah, well,
and equipped too.
Yeah, the old style knee wraps, the old 2 meter ones, and the old like Inzer Z suit or whatever it was back then.
Cool. What about training partners?
Well, I had a really good group of training partners. I mean, and they knew me well enough. Like, when it came time to someone else go, and I would go to spot, they'd be like, no, you suck at spotting. You just coach us. That's what you do best. And then when I had to go, they knew how to ramp me up, and they knew what to look for on me. So everybody did really well.
Would you say that, at least for me, I think that training environment and training partners is a huge part of being a competitive athlete. Like, I feel like when I'm training at my gym with a good group of people, it really pushes me to that next level.
Yeah, because we can be our own worst enemies, especially if we put a negative thought into your head. I think that's why people get slapped, yelled at, or they use like ammonia snaps, is to break that negative thought in their head. That's what it's best.
Did you ever use any of that shit?
I tried ammonia snap once. I walked out there like a zombie. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Just give me a little bit of yell and some positive reinforcement, and I'm okay.
You were a pretty quiet lifter too, right?
Yeah.
You didn't like scream.
I felt, as soon as I let it out, I felt like that energy would just go and be gone.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty quiet lifter as well.
There's a raging, destruction going on the inside, but I saved that for the weights.
As far as your competitive years go, what did your diet consist of?
Almost anything. And then at night, I would make sure
Pretty
I had...
healthy?
Pretty healthy, but if I wanted to cheat, my philosophy, how we can kind of make ourselves do anything, is thinking anything's right, is if your mind controls a lot of stuff that happens in your body, secretions, excretions, stuff like that, I'm gonna keep mine pretty happy. So yeah, I did cheat, but it was within my weight class. I made sure I got enough nutrients. Every night before I went to bed, my last meal was always a steak. And when you're young, as long as you don't have any worries, you don't have that many worries.
What were all of your, when you were competing, it was only a 2-hour weigh-in, or did you get to the 24-hour?
I got to the 24-hour weigh-in, but I was already at a higher weight class where I didn't even have to drop weight, so it didn't matter.
What was your biggest cut in the 2-hour weigh-in?
A little over 20 pounds when I was at 181.
2-hour weigh-in.
Yeah.
Did you feel like it affected your strength? That cut? No.
Not that much. And that was before the round system. That's when you use the escalating weights, you have to follow yourself. So like in the squat, I squatted 782 that day, and I had like one person between me, then I had to go again.
Kind of like Olympic weightlifting style.
Yes.
Is that that's how they do it?
Exactly.
I like that. What do you think?
I liked it. The meets ran pretty quick, but at the same time, you gotta be in shape.
Yeah.
And no one thought anything second because you had to be in shape and you knew it. Now, if we went way back to it now, everyone would be screaming and yelling and stuff like that. Even I would. I mean, my last contest, they're like, guys, you have this many minutes before the round starts. I'm like, oh shit. Because then in a lot of the meets you go for money and stuff like that, you're kind of taken care of a little bit differently. So you forget that you have to pay attention to these strict rules.
Yeah.
But you just do it. If you have no choice, you don't care. You just do it.
I still, because I come from an Olympic weightlifting background, I still train powerlifting, weightlifting style. Like, I don't know if you saw the animal cage. And if you don't stop me, I can do it even faster. I worked up to that 545 deadlift in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, if you're
just plate.
If you're in shape, you're in shape.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's how you train.
I like that as far as because we have to make powerlifting more spectator friendly some way. Like, I don't know exactly what we need to do in order for people to tune in more, but
the spectator part is easy. It's because they can run long that it makes it hard on the spectators. So powerlifting to watch is actually fun, but when you have so many competitors and it takes so long to get to the top guys, you don't want to be there for that.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. That's why on TV or when it gets edited, it used to be a really big hit.
So before powerlifting used to be on TV?
Yeah, like one of the Mountaineer Cups, I think it was the second one, It was on ESPN2.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. Nick Busick used to have the contract with ESPN, and then I don't know. He pretty much stopped running the Mountaineer Cup kind of after that.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. It just takes the right people. All you gotta do is just offer it to them for free.
What do you think is the future of powerlifting? Like what needs to happen to get more exposure to powerlifting and to make it a more legitimate sport?
There are too many federations, but even the absence of, or even with too many federations, there has to be more conformity with the rules. Because you can go in one federation and see meets or lists that are like, oh my God, that sucked. And then other ones you can go in sometimes where it's like, wait a second, that guy just went 2 inches below parallel. Why did he get that? So just normal, nice judging, and sometimes the extreme either way is bad. Just kind of neutral where everyone is treated the same. And I noticed that at the IPF Worlds this year, I saw a lot of lists that should have been passed. At the USPA, at Gracie's meet, I saw a lot of lists that should have been passed and that weren't. And just the same as if it's too lenient judging, too strict a judging, and I don't mean strict where it's you're making guys squat below parallel and that's it. That's fine. That's the way judging should be. But when you're looking at a lift and you're an advanced lifter for as many years as I have, and you're watching a lifter, or wait a second, his butt came up, his butt didn't move. I'm sitting there watching it. It didn't move. What are you talking about? Or what about the depth? That looks pretty good to me. Shouldn't it be good?
So yeah, consistency in judging.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking that could solve that? You know how in gymnastics they take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to give, 2 or 3 minutes is a long time, but let's say a minute to give someone's score. So like if there would be, instead of 3 judges, it would be 3 cameras and 1 biomechanist looking at the camera and like literally like drawing the line from the hip crease to the top of the knee.
The John Madden thing with football, that's what he would always do.
Exactly, that.
Yeah.
And you remove all the subjectivity from it. You have just one person looking at the same squat from 3 different views, drawing lines where they need to be at. And yeah, you take a little bit longer to give an answer, but it's 100% objective.
Yeah, people can watch that on, you can have TV cameras set up really easy. And then, or some of the bigger federations could easily afford and get the sponsorship to videotape it, then edit it yourself, and then you can edit your own voiceover in there without a problem and send it off to any station for free.
Exactly.
Any station. Just, or put it up on your own YouTube channel or something and say, this is free tonight. You know, if you let's say live stream the IPF Worlds for free, and you get this many hundreds of thousands of viewers, now you have hundreds of thousands of viewers to go to sponsors or a network and say, these are how many people watch this. What can you do for us? Right away, they see money. Because let's say you have 500,000 people watch it over the course of a year.
I mean, well, the IPF is doing a great job, especially at the way that they televise and live stream and all that stuff. Like, looks very professional.
Yeah, they got good announcers that do that too.
They are doing a good job.
Yeah.
But for example, at the US Open, you know, it was supposed to be a meet with only high-level athletes or top-level competitors, and there were a few
There was a lot of lifters where if it was supposed to be top level, they weren't exactly at that level yet. I think sometimes that's due to they have to pay an entry fee, and the people that run the meet have to make sure they can make up some of the costs of running the meet.
How about rivalries? Do you think that would be a selling point? Like making it more clear who's going against who?
Yeah, that's what that Marcos does at Big Dogs with all the heavyweights. Will this guy do this? Will this guy do this? This guy has a, competition list of this, but they were set in his own country. Let's see what happens when he travels under this judging. And stuff like that can work out as long as you don't get nasty with it. If it becomes too much of a rivalry where, fuck you. Or,
healthy rivalry.
If it's not healthy, it won't work. But, and you could do that, the IPF could do that better, really good with country by country. The US won this year. Will they win again? This country's coming on strong and they got these lifters.
Right.
Yeah, stuff like that could work.
that someone has to do it. King of the Lifts is kind of doing it
Yeah.
on social media. I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's
Bringing that healthy
but
way.
powerlifting is getting more and more popular, and part of the reason is CrossFit. CrossFitters are all doing powerlifting. And they're all going in powerlifting meets. USAPL Nationals had what, like 1,140 people lift up the.
That's crazy.
They're not all just regular powerlifters. There's a lot of CrossFitters that are experimenting with powerlifting because it's fun. It's fairly easy, especially for beginners.
And it'll also benefit their CrossFitting.
Yes.
As well, to get stronger always.
Yeah. Like, what does Mark say? There's strength is never a weakness.
Weakness is never a strength.
It's never a problem getting stronger for everyone. Man, woman, child, no matter how old you are, it all helps.
Exactly. What would be your best advice for people getting into powerlifting?
Take your time.
Patience.
Yeah, patient time. It takes a few years to lay down a pretty good base. So you keep it simple and make sure that your technique is right. Make sure that if someone's helping you, that they're out for your best interest, and it has to feel, whatever technique you use, it has to feel natural for your body, or else your body will not accept it and you end up getting hurt.
There you have it. Cool. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for having me.